Welcome back to We Move Through Stormy Weather, a podcast by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. My name is Ryan Storm, and I'm back here today for pretty much the quarterly interview with the one and only keyboard wizard himself, Joel Cummins of Umphrey's McGee. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're here in Boston at the House of Blues. You know, it is day 2 of UMBowl. We had the first night last night, my first UMBowl experience, which was excellent.
Yeah,
I loved it.
For you?
I loved it. I had so much fun last night. I love all the shtick, that was going on, hearing you guys take on some covers, that you don't play a lot or, haven't played before. And I really, really loved the Stewart second set with all the ideas and seeing how, you guys adapted to each of the different prompts. But we'll talk about that, of course, in this interview. This is catching up with Joel, After our last chat in January, which if people haven't listened to that, I chatted with Joel and with Ryan about, having Chris back on the road with them after shoulder surgery and various other things. So you guys have played a lot of shows since we chatted in Cleveland. How has this year felt to you guys in the band?
Man, thinking back, it almost feels like a lifetime ago that we interviewed. We were right in the beginning of the touring year for us. We have played a lot of shows, and the last couple have really felt good and relaxed up there. And it's interesting because we've spent so much time of the day working on UMBowl things that when we've gotten to playing the show, we're like not just warmed up. We're like, wow, we've already played a whole show today.
Right. Nice.
So there's a little bit of this more, laissez-faire attitude toward everything, that things are happening, everyone's a little more relaxed, and we're being more patient up there. And it just seems like there are a lot of great ideas germinating from everyone. And, there's sometimes when the magic happens, and it's really hard to do with a 6-piece, to say, like, man, we've really all felt locked in for most of the show.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's been nice to have a few like that coming into UMBowl. Last night is kind of the the first half of our Super Bowl, so it feels like we've accomplished something. I think we had some vocal challenges. We had a couple people, even me last week, who weren't feeling great and had some losing our voices a little bit. So Chris and Brennan in particular, I thought, and Jake too, but those guys were really working hard to manage to keep their voices, and they sounded really good on the vocal stuff. We listened back a little bit to it last night after the show, particularly Puff the Magic Dragon.
Oh, that was for excellent.
Brennan. And if you haven't heard it, you can hear it on Nugs. Brennan has his own take on how things actually went down. He thinks the original is a little bit too cheery. Which,
you got to put a little edge on it. Yeah,
which doesn't surprise me. We call him Bad News Bayless because we've talked about this. Like when we're talking to the crowd, he can't deliver good news. He somehow makes good news feel bad. So like, for instance, we've had a few people that have said they were getting, proposing or stuff like this. So I always have to be the one that says that because I'm good with good news.
Yeah, I was going to say last night you gave the whole...
Yeah. Now, conversely, I'm not very good with bad news. Unless we need to make...
That's a good team.
Unless we need bad news to sound like good news.
Sure.
I can do that. But...
That's good. Like at least both of you are in the band.
Yeah. But
it would be bad if there's only one of you.
Invariably, he would say something, he's like, congratulations, are you sure about it? Or like, did you know 50% of people get divorced?
Right, like on the mic as,
he just can't hold back,
Mm-hmm.
But
Puff the Magic Dragon, it was...
Yeah, it was a special moment. Ryan and I gathered around. You can, again, see the video as well.
On Nugs,
on Nugs.
With your subscription. I wanted to talk about, though, you are not always, posting online about shows while on tour as other bands tend to be. And, we've had some discourse about that the last few days. But you did take to the Twitterverse on Thursday morning to call attention to Wednesday night's show in Burlington, which boasted 2 5-song sets, which was pretty cool. And that's rare for you guys that you have that much long jamming in one show. But what, it takes a lot for you to fluff your own music. Like how did that feel, and what went into that decision to post about it?
Well, my best friend Mark Brownstein is he's very liberal with his amount of positive tweets that he shares this day, which we're very happy for the bubble of positivity that is around him. But that kind of broke down some walls for me to feel better posting positively about myself. Although I have said, it's kind of like a religious thing, and Brownie likes to proselytize and try to convert people, whereas we kind of just let them come to us more naturally. So, it's a conscious choice. But in this one, I just couldn't help but break my own rules. Because it was truly a really fun show, and everyone was very relaxed, and, being on the small stage of Higher Ground, I think, helped as well, just as far as our ability to communicate directly with each other, and could really see what was happening. So, but the whole vibe really, you got the feeling the Burlington crowd was kind of egging us on too. They were getting more and more revved up as we were. The first thing that happened, we played Mantis, and we ended up cutting the second song of the night. Yeah, which was Silent Type. Did we play it later? I think we did.
I don't have.
I think we played it in the
off the top of
encore.
My head. Okay.
I think we played it later. But yeah, the attachments, and then we played in the kitchen kind of late in set 2, and even that one had some really interesting improvisational ideas, and people were coming up with different riffs. We were doing some key changes, and it's this year's been really fun because I think we've tried to figure out better ways to communicate these movement ideas, and even the modes, so that we jump into an idea and already have kind of a head start knowing what it is when somebody starts something. I think that's the big challenge. It's like, how quick can you come up with something that further develops whatever's happening, whether that be something that is reinforcing a pre-existing idea or doing something that plays off of that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, and it just feels like everybody's hitting a natural stride while also not being redundant. And that's a big challenge with improvisation. Obviously you can variate tempos and keys, but as far as where things go, we also don't want to do a show where it's like there were 6 or 7 jams and 5 of them felt very similar. We're intentionally trying to do something different, reacting to whatever we did before.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about last night. The first show of UMBowl. It's the 10th UMBowl. Especially after the postponement. Like, I think a lot of people were really excited about last night. Obviously, especially you guys, but the crowd felt really excited to be there last night. Going into it, you guys lead off the weekend with the band's choice set. The one of the 6 sets that you guys, like, it's a regular Umphrey set for all intents and purposes. And I'm curious how you guys approach that. And, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but reading someone posted on Twitter like a retrospective of all the previous UMBowls and like all the sets, and it hasn't always been the first set of the weekend, right? So what I'm curious what goes into the decision to lead off the weekend with that set, and how you guys approach the structure for it.
So until the 2021 UMBowl, it had been 4 quarters in one show.
Yes.
And only one night.
Yeah.
Right? And then after, kind of thinking about how we could do this a little better moving forward, and
not burn yourselves out completely.
Yeah. It's intense for everyone. It's a lot for the fans too. Like, that's the other thing. We decided to do 6 quarters over 2 nights, right? So 2 of the 3 in the past 2 years have been the fan voted ones, and then we've had 2 band's choice sets. So they've usually been, I think, set 3 of each show, right? So this year we switched it up and we made the band's choice set 1 for a couple reasons. It was kind of, all the other things made the most sense to lay them out as they did, and this was the one that was left. We didn't really want to open with an what is it going to be tonight? An S2 last night, and we didn't want to do the covers first.
Right.
So... and then we also, we'd previously decided we'd like to do the improvisation to films on the second day to make sure that we got things dialed in on that front. We wanted to do Choose Your Own Adventure. It has to be a different day than the S2. And the S2, because it's improvisation, needs to be a different day than the improving to films.
Right. It's like Sudoku.
Yeah, totally. It is like Sudoku. So that just kind of naturally fell into that slot. And we also talked about it that, it really helped us get set up for being more creative by playing songs we knew that we were confident with that had good opportunities for improvisation, which we know that these fans, that's one of the things that they want to hear.
Sure.
So it was kind of choosing songs that it's just what it is. The songs that we wanted to play that were like we love these, they're fun. Opening with Staircase, that was we kind of unintentionally ended up opening with that, and it's the one song that we actually have video content for already established.
I was gonna say that it was great, and I immediately, my FOMO from not being in Vegas last weekend for the Sphere shows was immediately lessened. It's like, this is
right
here in Boston. I'm seeing the visuals behind the band. It's basically the same thing.
If you ate enough drugs, it was just like the Sphere. Yeah. So, we started with that, and then the other thing that having my keyboard's facing lots of directions, I got to see what Ben Factor was doing with the video wall. We don't usually have a video wall out with us. It's it's part of our stage design, maybe once or twice a year, and he is able to create this effect with a camera that he has out in front of house, and then it makes it look like kind of a tunnel.
Yeah.
And so when you have that going on with the existing light show surrounding it, it becomes this wild, kaleidoscope of colors that, I don't know, it's this really, really cool effect. And he was using it a bunch last night. And then also there's our song Triple Wide that typically has, the gobos are spinning and creates this sort of enveloping effect. And so he did it as well with the image on the LED wall. So it was this whole thing spinning, right?
Yeah. No, it looked really cool.
Yeah, and it's fun to have that back there, and definitely for me, I think it adds something that is a little more it gives it more of an artistic vibe that I'm thinking more in that realm as opposed to doing something that's a little more canned. I don't know. It's an inspiring thing for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
set 2 last night was Stuart, the fan voted prompts that you guys then have to jam off of all improv set. How does last night stack up to previous ones, and is there any moment from last night's set that really sticks out to you?
Oh, I thought there were a lot of great parts for not to sound too much like Brownie and my bubble of positivity, but there were a lot of great parts we got to, and sometimes it takes a couple minutes to develop, and that's something that we've learned over the years is don't feel like you have to move on to a new idea too quickly.
Sure.
Now, if something is worn out, it's welcome, move on.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed Jake conducting last night.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was really fun, and he obviously got into it as well, which also makes it that more exciting. But his brain works like that, and as somebody who Jake being the multi-instrumentalist, guitarist, drummer, bass player, keyboardist, sax player, singer, he can do it all. So he has a very unique perspective on what can be created, and I think that came out. That was special. The aforementioned Puff the Magic Dragon, of course, a highlight. One thing that happened that I haven't listened back to it yet, but hopefully it comes off as avant-garde. Stasek, when we did the keyboard jam, mentioned E flat, and all I heard was E. I started a Moog sequence in E.
Yeah.
And it was going against E flat for long enough that maybe it did sound intentional.
Sure. It's jazz. It's not about it's not about the note you're playing. It's about the intention. Victor, the Victor Wooten.
So
thing
maybe that'll be the next Twitter survey.
There we go. All right, yeah. Is that avant-garde or is it a wrong note?
or is it awful? Oh God, yeah. I walked off stage and everybody was like, "Joel, what the fuck, man?" Like,
That's awesome.
I didn't, I still didn't realize what happened until they told me right then. And Brennan eventually was like, E flat, and I'm like, oh, everybody changed keys. And so like the end of it, I did do in E flat when I go back to the arpeggiator the second time. Mm-hmm. So
That's fine.
it sounds intentional. Let's go with that.
There we go. I was disappointed at lack of clav in the full keyboard jam.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Right. Well, here's the thing. The clav works best with drums.
Sure. So, absolutely. That was just, that's me being me. I think my favorite part of that set last night was the Medeski, Martin, and Umphrey's bit. That was really cool. And,
I joked with Stasik, I was like, you should just get pissed and just lay out and just sit there with your arms crossed.
Yeah.
Why not Chris Wood? What's wrong with Chris Wood? That was really fun. And, like Jake and Brennan know how to throw in the Schofield vibe. Too,
sure.
So,
absolutely. Neil was talking about after the show, he was like, that was like the exact like tone for like a go-go.
I started out with a little percussion, very go-go-esque, and then I use some B3 tones that I don't usually do with Umphrey's that are a little more aggressive. I mean, obviously with the MMW thing, the organ's oftentimes the lead instrument, and for us, most of the time, it's more of a complementary, filling some like sonic like thickness, right?
Sure.
So it was nice to be able to kind of step out of the box of what I typically do and feel like, oh, now I can try to channel a little Medeski. I grew up absolutely loving that guy and MMW, so that was a particularly fun one for me to do.
Awesome.
And John himself is just a fantastic and funny human being. So it's that's one of those where it's like they say don't meet your heroes, and I'm like, oh man, I got to hang out with him, and he told me some stories that had me fucking rolling on the ground laughing.
That's awesome.
That guy is just
it's awesome. And then
awesome.
Let's third set last night, covers only, fan voted covers. I Roundabout's one of my favorite songs. Like going back to when I was really little, so I loved hearing that one out the gate. You guys crushed that. But what were your thoughts on how the fans voted for that one?
Well, one funny thing that I thought, kind of looking at it, was that it was a lot of like 80s and 90s like butt rock hair metal vibe. Yeah. But like the good songs of that era.
Sure.
Cult of Personality is sick. Vernon Reid, man. There's another guy I got to play with that I'm like, oh my god, he's amazing. Amazing player and great dude. But No More Tears I got to sing, which that one we always laugh about. Well, everyone else laughs about it because it's in D flat and it's really high.
Yep.
We do it in D.
Sure.
Because that's easier for the guitar players.
Yep. Makes sense.
So it's probably easier for me too as a keyboardist, but as a vocalist, it's not. So I was pretty happy with how that went last night. I had a lot of fun playing Kid Charlemagne. That was one great. Is such a great composition, and being in a jam band for that, where we can take out that kind of C major minor groove like we did last night and take it for a little spin is really fun. Mm-hmm. Chris and I actually went and saw Steely Dan at the Forum back in about 2014.
Nice.
And we were having so much fun that the people in front of us turned around. Like we weren't talking during the show. Mm-hmm. We were laughing and like joking around between songs, and they shushed us for talking between songs.
Wow.
I mean, I thought that was a little extreme, But we were just having a great time.
Yeah,
you know?
listen, some people have very different ideas of what's acceptable at shows. I got told on Twitter the other day that if I don't like people talking at a show, I should stay home and watch the stream.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I never heard that perspective before, and it was really interesting.
I love, Ryan knows this, but for the listeners at home, created this game called the Complisult game. And what it is, some of these have been real situations. Some of them are just hypotheticals that we've thought of. But it's somebody thinking they're giving a compliment when really it's not. And it can either be an insult or it can just be missing the point.
Sure.
But a good one that I like to tell other musicians is, walk up and be like, oh my God, such a great show. I saw so many of my good friends. I got to catch up with so many people.
Yeah.
It was just great, man. Seriously, I had 10 amazing conversations tonight.
And how was the music? Right? Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for creating that space of allowing me to talk to my friends loudly and laugh.
Right.
Over your music.
Yeah, over the music. Yeah, it's that's exactly what you want as an artist. That's what you want to hear too.
So
that's great.
I stumbled into going to the last Rush show ever. It was my first Rush show.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing at the Forum in LA. Same place as the Steely Dan thing.
Sure.
And all these... So Dasha and I showed up, and we saw half the audience was sitting, half was standing, and I was like, oh, let's not go to our seats yet. Let's stand up back here, and, we can dance a little bit and move around. And finally, the ushers were like, you guys got to go,
It's
So we went down to our seats, and, as luck would have it, everyone in front of us was sitting, and everyone behind us was standing, except for the two people right behind us who were sitting.
Well, they're in the minority then.
So,
Switch seats.
Yeah, we don't pick on minorities, Ryan. Come on. So anyway, they of course eventually tap me on the shoulder and they're like, "Can you sit down? We can't see." And we just gotten off tour. I was tired, and I was like, I think the band would like to see a little more energy from the fans. They're working.
Yeah,
really,
that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm they're working really hard up there.
Yeah.
I'm they're just a 3-piece.
Yeah, they want to see people getting down, Yeah, that's great.
And she was like, okay, fine. Now I'm just going to keep tapping you in the show. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, how can I fix this? And I was like, and I could tell it was, it was these two people together. And I was like, how about this? Do you want to just switch seats?
Yeah.
Because the people in front of us are sitting, and she was trying to figure out a way to be mad about it. And
right,
she was like, fine. So we switched seats.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. 2 songs later, everybody stood up.
Yeah, of course. After all that, yeah, that's great.
Well, I was really proud of myself for negotiating that solution in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't always think of that, and usually I'm not an asshole like that either.
Sure.
But I didn't want to sit down. I'm like, this is Rush, and it turned out to be their last show. I'm so glad I didn't sit down.
Right. So yeah, good thing you were there and standing. So you guys are heading into summer tour soon.
We are.
And you've got Soul Shine happening at the end of May. Very very big weekend for you guys every year. How are you feeling going into the reworked event for this year?
Great. Well, one of the things for us that we really enjoyed last year and the last year of summer camp was we played down on the Moonshine stage, which is the natural amphitheater that's there, and where we played when the event started for the first couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then we moved over. They basically made that stage so that we could have our thing and Mo could have their thing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, in theory, big enough to do both bands and the production and all this, which I understood, made sense. But being back in the amphitheater for me is really the essence of what that Memorial Day event is.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of getting back to that a little bit. A lot of people are like, okay, well, what's different? I know that's kind of one of the things is bringing this back to its roots.
Yep.
So, summer camp in the past probably had the most artists on any lineup I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot last year. Yeah.
I can understand why that becomes, and just, the reality of the music business right now, if you guys don't know this, is shit's gotten insanely expensive from, everything: transportation, travel, hotels, trucking, busing, all this, right?
Yep.
And it's really, really not easy to put on a successful festival and to do it well, and to not cut corners. So with that in mind, being a promoter is something that's gotten riskier and riskier, and there are more and more festivals every year. So I understand kind of the big reason of why we need to do it this way for the moment, and maybe into the future. But I think it's really preserving what the best parts of this festival, that the forest there where everybody's camping is still a thing, and the amphitheater stage is like the main stage now, where we're going to be playing, where Mo's going to be playing. One of the things that we did last year that we're doing again this year, which I thought was really fun, was the
collaborative set.
Yeah, joint set with Mo, where we have members of Umphrey's and members of Mo kind of trading in and out as the set goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how you guys do that differently this year. Having done it once, will the cowbell be making an appearance? Will there be another
large instrument?
Yeah, we'll find out in a month.
Possibly an oversized harp.
Ooh, okay. You heard it here first. Stasek will be playing harp.
What will the oversized instrument be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun for both of us. Obviously, we have so much love and respect for the Mo guys, and they were some of the first people who invited us to open for them and to go on tour with them. So to have had and to continue to have an annual event with them that we get to collaborate on now is really a good time. And it's cool because it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit, where it's like, it's not Umphrey's, it's not Mo.
Yeah, it's you guys together, yeah.
There's not the expectation of, it should be this or it should be that,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm really looking forward to that. We've got our annual trip to Colorado, doing things a little differently this time. We're going to be playing at, actually not Colorado, but the Red Butte Garden in Salt Lake City, which is my probably second favorite outdoor venue to
Nice.
Red Rocks. And then the Vail Amphitheater, which may be or the Ford Amphitheater in Vail, which is like the third or fourth.
I'm excited. I'm going there for the first time for J-Rad at the end of May.
Sweet.
Which I can't wait to see that place.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. And then Red Rocks, and we've got Corey Wong and
that's awesome.
Daniel Donato in Cosmic Country. And Daniel's playing with us in Salt Lake, and I don't think it's been announced yet, but he is there with us in Vail and then Red Rocks too.
Awesome.
So pretty sweet lineup this year for our Red Rocks show. We're coming back out to the East Coast, 4th of July weekend too. Be playing around there. Let me think about what else do we have that's announced. Oh, we got a West Coast tour that we're doing, a couple co-bills with Blues Traveler in July.
I don't know if those are announced.
They are announced.
They are?
Yep.
I don't remember seeing that. That's cool.
Maybe announced them like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Got it. Sweet.
Doing some stuff in California and one show in Bend, Oregon, which is also one of my favorite cities.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There you go. You're hitting everywhere that you want to go this summer. That's very exciting.
We are. A lot of shows, no
awesome.
doubt.
That's
no
awesome.
doubt. Yeah, and we're playing some festivals too. We're doing Electric Forest again, which is one of my favorites. I've done a bunch of side shows there recently, and fun for me personally because that's one of my wife's events. So just a really, really sweet festival in northern Michigan, if you don't know. I assume most people know. But we're doing that. We're doing something called the Big E in Massachusetts here this summer. Apparently it's like a county fair or state fair sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah, Lotus is playing with us.
Nice.
So we'll be back in the East Coast for that too.
Awesome. You're hitting it all. You're hitting it
Yeah,
all. Well,
we're hitting it all.
We'll be back.
We've got some to-be-announced shows that I'm also very excited about that, depending on when this airs, they may be announced. So
This will be out on Monday.
Oh,
ideally.
okay. Well, I can say it then. We've got some shows with Eggy playing with us, and a band called Stolen Gin as well, who a friend just mentioned to me on a ski lift. So I thought that was interesting.
That's good to know.
Check them out.
Definitely
Definitely
dig
dig the sound.
Awesome.
And so we're going to be playing some shows in the Midwest and some shows in the Southeast.
Sweet. Very exciting. Well, thank you, Joel. We'll be back together again, I'm sure, later this summer at some point.
I mean, quarterly, what is it right now, April? So
Quarterly or so. So, yeah.
By July, August.
July or August, we need to have another interview.
We can't wait longer than that.
It's true, yeah. The people need it. People demand it.
I just want to say this in closing.
Yes.
Talking to Ryan before the interview, I was like, I got to do this interview next door, and he goes, okay, but Joel, why are you doing a Goose podcast? So, Ryan Storm here is a known entity, Goose podcaster, but, Ryan wanted me to let him
wear
know.
Many hats.
Yeah, don't worry, he has many podcasts, so, this guy, you should see his resume.
Thank you.
It's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited for tonight.
Me too.
Night 2 at UMBowl is going to be great. Thank you again, Joel, for sitting down. Always such a pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of We Move Through Stormy Weather. Have a fantastic day, and see you next time.